Our individual, CEO status, and conflicting mortality create confusion, urgency, panic, and stress for each of us. This becomes especially apparent when we face the overwhelming politics of group belonging. Throughout history, group politics has sought to make the human individual appear irrelevant in the broader social picture. Yet, regardless of their power, political systems never remain the same. For instance, today's popular slogan of equal human individual rights is actually a byproduct of that ongoing attempt to weaken and control the individual. There was a time when such control was not only necessary but also politically fashionable in conservative societies. Although the struggle continues today, things are no longer going as smoothly for conservative politicians. In an age where the idea of equal human rights has become a spiritual and moral truth, all political systems, including religions, are suffering from their own prejudicial and discriminatory teachings. This is simply because all group-based politics function in direct opposition to the idea of one universal God, one humanity, and one spiritual, blind, and equal justice system for every human being. Logically speaking, this perspective makes it clear that no human community, political party, or religious group can be truly meaningful on its own. No political group, nation, religion, or even concept of God can have meaning if things do not manifest physically. You may choose to buy into whatever your group has sold you politically, but the logical reality remains: the power of our groups, gods, and devils can only exist if they are physically viable. Without living, breathing human beings, the world cannot exist as a physical reality. So, let us bring this all the way down to what truly matters. By grounding these ideas on a personal level, we begin not only to understand our importance but also to cultivate self-respect and self-esteem, qualities that enable us to hold our politicians accountable when they stray from spiritual principles. As human beings, we are all born not only into belonging groups but also with an undeniable social nature. We are designed to be social creatures. Regardless of our freedom to make choices, we cannot escape the politics of belonging. Even when these politics attempt to sell us our own irrelevance, they reveal that the individual human being is the most undermined character in this so-called holy and political picture of religious belief. Each of us, as individuals, is responsible for converting spirituality into physical action. Believing in our own irrelevance is a sign of spiritual bankruptcy and should be seen as a form of political brainwashing. When viewed logically, human progress as a physical reality clearly proves that humanity cannot be irrelevant. Regardless of one's beliefs in God or the devil, the importance of human physicality surpasses all politics, because without human beings, nothing functions or makes sense. Yet, here we are, willing to ignore and override this simple truth. So where did this come from? Were we born with it, or were we politically brainwashed from childhood within our group settings? Regardless of the origin, we have been taught to believe in our own irrelevance. Just look around and notice how the politics of belonging continue to make us dance like political puppets. Even though we are the crucial link between the physical and the spiritual, we continue to undermine our atom of autonomy, that inner force allowing us to transform spirituality into physicality and give it meaning. Ignorance of our personal autonomy does not come from God, nor is it a political excuse. Each of us is born with free will and a personal sense of justice. Therefore, our lack of awareness comes from politically tainted education. If you are born human, it is your duty to think beyond the politics of group belonging. You were created as a human being, not as a worker bee or a warrior ant. So what prevents you from respecting yourself? With this self-respect, let's explore the root causes of the conflicts between science and religion, and between religions themselves. If your self-esteem has been stripped away by political education, remember, God and spirituality have nothing to do with that. Today, while humanity demands equal individual rights on one hand, science on the other continues to disprove long-held religious theories. Despite clear, repeatable scientific facts, many still refuse to accept the physical realities of human importance. For instance, even with countless lives saved through blood transfusions, some people still reject them. This alone tells the story. Despite these disputes, science continues to reveal truth as it is and as it has always been. Yet, the politics of belonging keep humanity divided. Until we evolve individually, enough to use our God-given atom of autonomy to make free choices, these conflicts will persist. Consider human sacrifices once offered to please God and stop natural disasters like earthquakes or floods. Or think about the ancient Hindu practice of sati, where a widow was burned alive with her husband's body. Despite the proven benefits of scientific discovery, some religious groups still deny science, clinging to metaphorical interpretations over physical realities. If physical facts of science are already hard for us to accept, how can we expect peace when both sides argue over metaphors about life before and after death? With your God-given atom of autonomy and the ability to judge right from wrong, you must learn to filter out the politics of belonging to fulfill what God intended for you. If you are aware of your true self, you will naturally respect your humanity. Though politics may teach you to believe you are irrelevant, a mere cell in the larger body of society, you cannot deny that your physical and spiritual presence gives meaning to everything. Without your physical presence, nothing works. Without you, everything loses relevance, because things must be done physically to be meaningful. As you come into life, you bring with you your importance and relevance. You are responsible for whom you lend your physicality to. You can choose to be godly or lend yourself to what is devilish. Remember, you arrived in this world with a body and a brain, not by your own design. You breathe oxygen to live, your cells divide within a limited span of time. So ask yourself, what is the purpose of your life? Is it to serve a single arm or leg, or the entire body? If you live by the politics of group belonging, it's as if you serve only an arm or leg rather than the body as a whole. Yet, you live only because the body functions as one. The arm or leg cannot function on its own. So, if you are searching for purpose, it is not to exist as an isolated part, but to live as a complete human being. Your purpose is to serve yourself and humanity physically, to serve God spiritually. After all, God fulfills prayers through human beings. If you feel confused, simply learn to understand your atom of autonomy and use your free will to rise above political influence. Understanding yourself beyond politics is not only essential, it is crucial to becoming a spiritually aware and responsible human being. As human beings, fear and greed are understandably two of our greatest motivators. Our politicians know this all too well. That's why they continually preach individual irrelevance and emphasize group importance. Yet, in an era where humanity seeks equal human and individual rights, these old tactics are no longer working, and we can see the evidence all around the world. Sure, such strategies may have been necessary in our primitive, bush and cave days, but in today's world, they have become outdated and increasingly ineffective. We no longer live in the wilderness. Today, we face far greater challenges. Remember, we now possess biological and nuclear weapons, along with the internet and the precision of artificial intelligence. On top of that, our politicians continue to exploit our natural fear of the unknown and our mortal nature. A lack of individual belief in God allows others to control us. But being both mortal and controlling runs directly against faith in God. It causes stress, anxiety, and even depression at the individual level. So, while group politics may seem effective, they often work against the individual and their mortal nature. As individuals, we have the right to make our own choices, even if those choices work against the quality of our own lives. However, we must understand the consequences of our actions, especially when they rob us of happiness and contentment during our short time on Earth. Living a life that sacrifices happiness and peace is not a wise way to spend our limited years. Instead of providing hope, optimism, and faith, politicians often work for the group and preach self-sacrifice. While this may be sound politics, it is not just, and spiritually, injustice can never be connected to God. By making us feel insecure, politicians rob us of our faith, hope, optimism, and courage. If you want to add quality to your time on Earth, do it strategically. Remember, if mortality doesn't change regardless of your personal efforts, then it's time to think beyond your conditioned knowledge. With the blessing of the atom of autonomy, God made each of us the CEO of our own life. It's time to think critically about the politics of belonging while embracing our mortal nature. One thing is clear: politicians will never teach you to live fearlessly, because fearlessness works against group politics. It's up to you, as an individual, to add quality years to your life and refuse to rob yourself of joy by believing everything society and politicians preach. Instead of letting your groups, or yourself, steal your happiness and contentment, learn to understand your true place and purpose as God intended. Your atom of autonomy. If you are blessed with your own exclusive atom of autonomy, know that it is what allows you to use your free will and appreciate your personal sense of justice. This means you are born an automatic CEO. All these blessings from God exist so you can do justice to yourself. Remember, your belonging groups do not give you free will or CEO status, they actually try to take them away. In the spiritual sense, if faith helps you become a better human being, embrace it. But if the politics of belonging create problems for you as an individual, take charge and become the CEO of your life. Becoming a CEO means thinking as a human being, because that's what you are. Start by separating your spiritual nature from your hormonal and political influences. Becoming a CEO is not easy, especially if you've been shaped by political or social influences since childhood. As you grow into adulthood, many responsibilities fall on your shoulders. If you are the one who converts thought into action, good or bad, remember, you are the most important figure in this holy picture. Claiming ignorance while hiding behind group politics is not an option. As human beings, we are all responsible for our actions. Learning about the qualities you were born with is essential. To better understand this, consider this example: if your child isn't allergic but is sensitive to traditional foods, would you feed him anyway? Your beliefs, your traditions, customs, and rituals work the same way. They can nourish or harm your children. Yet many people pass them on without considering whether they cause discomfort, simply because they've accepted the group's knowledge as absolute truth. This shows how deeply political conditioning shapes our behavior. I often talk about what I call the triangle of love. Personally, I lean toward instinctive love, the natural love I feel for my children, who came into my life without their own choice. In this triangle, instinctive love holds the top corner. The triangle consists of instinctive love, passionate love, and universal love. But when this triangle gets flipped, passionate and universal love dominate, often leading to internal conflict. When one isn't a CEO of their emotions, these misplaced priorities can cause destruction. For example, if you're taught to believe that you owe your community simply because you were born into it, think carefully. You had no choice in that birth. Don't buy into that political blackmail. Logically, you were born into humanity as a whole. Belonging to humanity is a biological truth. Belonging to a group is a political choice. Ask yourself, are you strong enough to be the CEO of your life and see things from a spiritual perspective? Or are you waiting for politicians and groups to define your truth? We are all equally blessed with the atom of autonomy, which makes us capable of being the CEO of our lives. We are equipped to manage our emotions, our animal instincts, and the political influences of belonging. As bearers of this autonomy, we are responsible for our physical actions. Consider two real-life tragedies that show what happens when the triangle of love is inverted. Long ago, an American woman, Susan Smith, sacrificed her instinctive love for her children in favor of passionate love. She drowned her two sons and claimed they were kidnapped by a stranger because her boyfriend didn't want kids. Her passion overpowered her instincts, leading to devastating consequences. Another case involved a Sikh family in Canada who paid to have their daughter killed in India because she refused an arranged marriage. Fear of social judgment, What will people say? Led him to sacrifice instinctive love for the sake of universal, group-based loyalty. These examples reveal how political or social influence can distort love and morality. As CEOs of our own lives, we must create balance. Should we take responsibility and help our loved ones deal with their struggles, or become puppets, committing injustices in the name of societal norms? Following everything preached by our groups leads us to harm even those we love. God remains exonerated because we were given free will and a personal sense of justice. The real question is, where do you stand? Would you feed your child a traditional food that makes them sick? If not, then why not become the CEO of your own life, creating balance and taking ownership of your decisions? We are living in an era of transition, where we must understand the universality of our nature. Embrace universal values like equal human individual rights, one God, one humanity, and blind justice for all. Justice divided to suit group politics is not justice at all. Balance your love triangle and belong to humanity as a whole, because you are born as a human individual. People influenced by politics have their own choices, but every choice carries consequences, for themselves and others. Many hold strong loyalties to their traditions, rituals, and rules. Some even kill or die for political beliefs. As human beings, we must question this powerful group conditioning and ask, why do we harm ourselves and others in the name of belonging? Even mental health struggles among war veterans are examples of individuals suffering for the sake of political loyalties. Deep down, we all know we belong to humanity as a whole. It's time we see and acknowledge that truth. Everything, from border disputes and land-based killings to infectious diseases, vaccine debates, global warming, cybercrime, and modern demands for equality, points to the same reality: the times are changing. Humanity must evolve to meet new challenges and manage our personal, communal, national, and spiritual lives wisely. Our destination should be universal: one God, one humanity, one earth, blind justice for all. If you believe you are merely a part of the body instead of the body as a whole, you have a political problem, not a spiritual one. Seeking spiritual answers from politically tainted belief systems can never bear fruit, especially when those systems are driven by the offspring of political belonging. The question is, are they beneficial or harmful to you as an individual and to society as a whole? If you find yourself harvesting the negative side effects of ego, pride, and honor, shouldn't you question their authenticity? Only when you remove the politics of group belonging and align yourself with humanity, God, and spirituality as a whole will you become aware of the darker sides of these commonly praised and so-called good virtues. Since the politics of groups, nations, or religions are inherently biased, political, prejudicial, and discriminatory, they naturally create space for injustice. As the CEO of your own life, you should recognize that connecting these biases to God can, in fact, be a literal sin. Remember, a political group leader cannot truly think about God, the individual, and humanity as a whole, plain and simple. As a spiritual being, one cannot be politically biased. Therefore, our political groups rarely stand for equal human rights. Their priorities and choices often aim to reduce free-willed individuals into worker bees or warrior ants, puppets that can be easily controlled. God created each of us as the CEO of our own life, granting us free will to transform both good and bad into physical action. We are each responsible for the choices we make. One way or another, the choice is yours. As human beings, we have long struggled to overcome our animalistic and political influences. Religious leaders have taught us to rise above our animal instincts, yet they have often forgotten that once we achieve it, we also become aware of the politics of group belonging. If a religion is not purely spiritual, then group politics inevitably haunt it, and the individuals within it. Spirituality has indeed played a vital role in human evolution, yet it has also discouraged us from embracing humanity as a whole and believing in one God for all. Group politics remain powerful and influential forces in our lives, which is why each of us must rise and become the CEO of our own existence. The love triangle. Before I go any further, I need to explain the love triangle a bit more. Instinctive love involves the self and immediate family, especially your children, because you played a role in bringing them into existence. Passionate love is the love that helped bring those children into the world. It is deeply important, but it still belongs to the lower corner of the triangle. Universal love begins the moment we are born into our communities, without our choice. From the start, we are assigned identities tied to a group, community, race, nation, or religion. Now, ask yourself, should you be punished, or should you punish someone else, simply because they were born into a different group? Remember, just like you, every person is innocent until proven otherwise. You cannot punish someone who was born into a particular group, race, gender, nation, or religion because of the circumstances of their birth. There was a time when warriors fought each other with swords and spears, but today's wars drop bombs on entire communities, without distinguishing the guilty from the innocent. No matter what someone says, if you are not responsible for your birth, then no one should be punished for theirs. Remember, spiritually speaking, if an individual has no choice in their birth, they are innocent. Now, the question is, do you understand why an individual would push a button to destroy and kill for the sake of the group or their so-called universal love? If you simply follow orders without questioning, you are allowing your animal instincts or your group loyalty to dictate your actions. When you act only as a follower, you ignore the very essence of being human. Remember, if you are a decision maker, you possess not only free will but also an innate sense of justice. You must look within yourself and take charge of your choices, especially if you wish to avoid becoming a victim of spiritual crimes committed as a political puppet. You need to understand the power that God has invested in you through your atom of autonomy. Unless someone is born with certain disabilities or defects, every healthy human being is responsible for their own actions, especially when exercising free will. That qualifies every single one of us to be the CEO of our own lives. Now ask yourself, as an individual, if God made you the CEO of your life, why would you allow yourself to do things you wouldn't want done to you or your loved ones? Why let yourself be controlled like a political puppet, harming yourself, your children, or your loved ones in the name of politicians? When you follow blindly, you're not connecting to God, you're connecting to political influence disguised as faith. Logically, if you are born into a group, remember, before all else, you were born as a human being. That means you belong to humanity as a whole, not to a single group of people. If you insist on being political, it's as if you're claiming to be born as an arm or a leg rather than part of the body as a whole. But an arm or a leg cannot live or function without the body. The belief that you can exist apart from the collective humanity is nothing more than political illusion. Reality has nothing to do with it. Without oxygen, water, food, love, and the care of your parents, you would not have survived. And on top of that, our mortal nature tells another story: we all age, fall ill, and die. Remember, no group can save you from any of that. Sure, they can say prayers for you, but that's as far as it goes. If you deny your physical realities because of your political education, you are denying your universal belonging to humanity, God, spirituality, and true justice. Sure, some people have strong opinions about the group traditions, customs, rituals, and rules, but when it comes to logic, as human beings, we must all ask ourselves, why were we each born with our own unique atom of autonomy? And what does that truly mean? If we follow everything our belonging groups preach without question, we risk living in inner conflict. And for a mortal being, living with that inner turmoil is like living in a personal hell. So, whose fault is it? It's certainly not God's, because if it were, we would all be genetically programmed like worker bees or soldier ants. Now ask yourself again, where do you stand as an individual human being? Would you feed your children traditional foods if those foods made them sick? If not, then why not? That question ties directly to your love triangle, and remember, God made you the CEO of your life to manage it. You were designed to use your free will and your personal sense of justice. So, if you were born into an era of transition, you must learn about the universality of your nature. This means you must choose universal truths, such as equal human individual rights, God as the spiritual expression of humanity, humanity as the physical expression of God, and you as the bridge between the two, uniting them as one through your physical existence. Let your spiritual principles serve as your personal constitution, and let blind justice help you maintain balance in your love triangle. Understanding what it means to be human requires spiritual awareness that goes beyond the politics of belonging. It involves recognizing the responsibilities that come with your physical life, your constantly evolving nature, your hormonal influences, and the external pressures of group politics. All of these coexist with the deeply embedded atom of autonomy that has been part of you since before birth. As human beings, we are born with a built-in genetic program, an internal software of nature that can help us grow into independent CEOs of our lives. Yet, because we don't always understand this inner system, we often rely on our groups to tell us how to think and act. The complexity of being human is visible even in our physical foundation. Scientifically proven facts about our cellular structure not only reveal our physical composition but also describe our evolutionary journey, one deeply intertwined with the knowledge of our mortality. Despite being influenced by external forces and politically tainted education, we cannot deny these truths. The age of denying science is long gone. There may still be people who argue against established facts, but in today's world, politics or not, denial is no longer easily accepted. Still, the corruptibility of human nature remains strong because of the powerful pull of group politics. As a result, the lines between right and wrong are often blurred. In short, the politically twisted truths of humanity have existed since the dawn of our awareness. Yet, despite the influence of group politics, humanity continues to evolve. Since we are all born from a not yet fully understood form of software, it is no wonder that we are constantly in conflict with ourselves, both as individuals and as groups. This internal conflict stems from our instinctual animal nature, which often resists our evolving spiritual consciousness. Humanity's evolutionary journey is not just biological. It's also a continuous battle between the physical and the spiritual, between survival and purpose. We have learned to communicate, to reason, and to love, but we have also learned to manipulate, divide, and destroy. Our free will, our atom of autonomy, gives us the ability to choose which side we feed. And yet, most people still surrender that autonomy to external influences, whether political, religious, or social, forgetting that their divine gift of choice was meant to elevate them, not enslave them. The real tragedy of human evolution is that we have advanced in technology and science but regressed in wisdom and empathy. We can reach the stars, but many still struggle to reach their own hearts. It is this disconnection between our intellect and our spirit that fuels the chaos of modern existence. The question, then, is not whether God exists, or whether science holds all the answers. It is whether you, as an individual, are willing to rise above the noise of politics, dogma, and fear to reconnect with your innate moral and spiritual intelligence. That is the only path that leads to true peace, both personal and collective. For when you understand your own atom of autonomy, you understand that every decision you make, every action you take, and every belief you hold shapes not only your life but the evolution of humanity itself. The power has always been within you. The choice has always been yours. Do you understand why an individual might press a button to destroy and kill for the sake of the group, or their so-called universal love? If you follow orders blindly, you're allowing your instincts or group loyalty to control your actions. When you act without questioning, you abandon the very essence of what it means to be human. If you are a decision maker, you carry not only free will but also a divine sense of justice. You must look within and take charge of your choices, especially if you wish to avoid becoming a victim of spiritual crimes committed through political manipulation. You need to recognize the power that God has placed within you through your atom of autonomy. Unless someone is born with a physical or mental impairment, every healthy human being is accountable for their own actions, especially when exercising free will. That truth alone qualifies every single one of us to be the CEO of our own lives. Now ask yourself, if God made you the CEO of your life, why would you allow yourself to do things you would never want done to you or your loved ones? Why would you let yourself be controlled like a puppet, hurting yourself, your children, or others in the name of politics? When you follow blindly, you're not connecting to God, you're submitting to political influence disguised as faith. Remember this, before you belong to any group, you were born human. That means your first and truest belonging is to humanity as a whole, not to a single tribe, religion, or nation. If you insist on identifying only with your group, it's like claiming you were born as an arm or a leg instead of as part of a body. But an arm or a leg cannot live without the whole. The illusion of separation is purely political, reality says otherwise. Without oxygen, water, food, love, and parental care, none of us would survive. And as mortal beings, we all share the same fate: aging, illness, and death. No group can save you from that. They can pray for you, but that's as far as it goes.